Thank you. Thank you all for being here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marianela Parra. I happily work with Bantani Education, part of the group of the fantastic consortium that works behind Entrepreneurship for All, developing great content, great opportunities, cool events to share with. For those of us who want to become an entrepreneur and those who are already experienced entrepreneurs and want to upskill or upscale. And it's all about sharing. Entrepreneurship for All is all about sharing. So this is the place for everyone. I am going to start in a second by sharing my screen, and I want to thank also some of my colleagues who are present here supporting. Let me give me 1 second. And I will be shared so that it's easier for all of us to follow, okay? Before we start, it's important that you know we want you to feel free to use the chat, to introduce yourself, to connect with others, to ask questions. It is easier for all of us if we're all muted so that it's better for everyone to listen to everyone. But if you have something to say, please raise your hand. No worries. We would love to hear from you. Any questions are welcome. All comments, all sharing is welcome. Okay. So I'm going to tell you what we're going to do today is that we are going to introduce you to how our summer school is going to work. Alrighty, a little bit about Entrepreneurship for All as well, to all of you who are new to this fantastic initiative supported by the European Union, by the Commission, by ISMEA, by DG Grow, who are our engine behind us, supporting us to develop new content, new learning, new opportunities for everyone, okay? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our summer school. Then we're going to have some fun getting to know each other. And we have here with us a dear colleague, Paul Ranson, who is going to be sharing. Thank you, Paul, for being here. He's a fantastic entrepreneur. He has a very interesting journey as an entrepreneur that he would love to share with us. And we are going to be hearing from him as well. Okay. So for those of you who are new to Entrepreneurship for All, welcome once more. Entrepreneurship for All, it's always hard for us to describe it, to be honest, because it's so many things all together. Entrepreneurship for All, we like to call it an ecosystem, a learning ecosystem. And it's a place where we get together to learn and to learn from each other, okay? Not only from experts, of course, but also from each other. So my colleagues, Nagore and Megan, who are here, thank you for being here. They're going to be sharing in the chat a few interesting links for you to save, okay, so that it's easier for you to go through the learning on this super exciting 3-week summer school. Alrighty, so just to let you know, we have a web. You'll find that link on the chat. We have a web for you to have easy access to everything we have. We are developing some very cool VR experiences, and you will be able to find some of them there already and some new ones in the near future. We also have a resource library full of fantastic resources, very curated, very well chosen for everyone to find something there for you. We have developed learning pathways. We're going to show you in a second all about them. We have a lot of live events. We are always in the making of new live events because we have to confess that maybe that might be our favorite part of Entrepreneurship for All. We love connecting with all of you. We have a community of practice. This is super important. So this is a link to save, okay? We have a community of practice on LinkedIn. This is the place where we share our challenges, our successes, our questions, our doubts, our selves, okay? So do go there and join our community, because also it's going to be very important for our summer school, okay? We're going to tell you in a second. In our platform, you're going to find a chat bot as well to help you navigate through the platform. And you're going to find as well a tool, some sort of a self-assessment tool for those of us who sometimes feel you don't know where to start, we have a tool for you to understand where you could start within Entrepreneurship for All, okay? So this is just a little bit of what entrepreneurship is all about. Entrepreneurship for All is all about, but let's get down to business. Let's talk about our summer school, okay? Because this is what brings us together today. So what we want you to know and to feel that this is, yes, your summer, and some of us wait the whole year for the summer. So it's your choice, really, your path, your choice. So for you, we have two options during these 3 weeks, okay? Option number one is our Entrepreneurship for All learning pathways. I'm going to tell you all about it in a minute. And if there are questions, please raise your hand. Do interrupt me whenever you feel it's important to go through that chat, dear Megan and Nagore, okay? And option number two is that we have mapped some very interesting paths for you that we are offering to you during these 3 summers, okay? We call them the summer exclusive innovator paths. Let me show you on the next 2 slides, okay? So option number one, okay? Depending on where you are on your entrepreneurial journey, for example, you're just starting to think about it. Hey, I have this idea. I would love to become an entrepreneur, and I just have no idea how to start. Okay, so we do have a pathway. Okay, for that we call it I want to become an entrepreneur, and there are 3 others. I want to upskill, I want to grow my business, and I want to reflect and grow. Okay, so we have these 4 pathways for you to choose and start right away, based on your where you are on your entrepreneurial journey. Okay, so that is one option, and you're free to go through them, of course. But then we have another option for this summer, okay? And we created a special opportunity for all of us, because I've already signed up and started a couple of them, for all of us to develop a special set of skills or competences, okay? Maybe I am more interested in developing my sustainability skills or options. What's out there for me and for my business in terms of sustainability, or financial skills, or digital development for my business, right? Or also all of those special opportunities out there for women entrepreneurs, right? Or entrepreneurship itself. Okay, so we have developed these special summer paths, okay? And how we are going to do it. We are going to share in the chat, or maybe Megan and Agore already did, we are going to share in the chat a link, okay, to some tutorials, okay? So it's going to be super easy for you. It's a very easy PDF, okay, that you can go through, and we're going to tell you exactly on those tutorials where to click, what to choose, so that you can see your journey, okay? Actually, at the end of each of these tutorials, you will have a checklist so that you can make sure that you've been through everything you needed to go to become, for example, a financial innovator, okay? So you have those tutorials there for you. Go through them, choose the one you want. Maybe you want to go for the 5 of them, fantastic. If you have questions, make sure to contact us, and with any challenges you might find, but I'm sure it's going to be super easy for everyone. Okay, so before we move on to our next activity, I just want to ask if there's anything, a question, or is there anything in the chat that we should address right now? Let me know. I'm going to open the chat in a minute.
I think we're okay to go ahead, Marianella.
Okay, lovely, lovely. Okay, so let me move on to the next one. Okay, so as you can see, it's super easy, okay? You go to our web, you go to our platform, and you find your, depending on your journey, on where you are in your journey as an entrepreneur, you pick one of those pathways of our learning pathways, or you go for our summer innovator e-badges, okay, that we're telling you about. And for those, you will have these tutorials available, these tutorials that I just mentioned, okay? Now, I mentioned about 5 minutes ago that our LinkedIn group, our LinkedIn community of practice is very important, okay? It's very important for many reasons, okay? Because we believe in peer learning, we believe in learning from each other, we believe in everyone's generosity of sharing their challenges and successes so that others can either help or learn from them, okay? But for this summer school especially, it's going to be the place where we can ask questions, where you can ask for advice, okay? And there's going to be a pool of experts behind that LinkedIn group to answer your questions. But also the interesting thing is that all of us who are also part of this summer school and are just like everyone else learning and trying and trying harder in our summer to develop our skills and competences, we're all free to help each other to answer everybody's questions so that we really create this community of practice where we are all growing together. Okay, so feel free to connect, to join our LinkedIn group so that it can become, of course, the place to chat and to connect. All righty, so everybody get together because we are going to have some fun getting to know each other, okay? You can either use your smartphone and use that QR code to access a Slido, a series of questions that we have prepared for today, or use the link we are sharing in the chat right now so that you can access the Slido. We're going to give everyone a few seconds. Let us know if you're in, okay? Because I can stop sharing. Alrighty. Okay. Lovely. So for the first one, please tell us where you're joining us from today. Okay. So we have a few from Spain, Italy, Bosnia, Germany, Croatia, Poland, Latvia, Ethiopia, Barcelona, Lisbon, Belgium, Helsinki, Turin. Lovely. Where else? Cyprus. This is jumping too quick for me. Greece, Paris, Dublin, Porto Alegre, Athens. What am I missing here? Austria. I think I didn't mention Austria. Serbia. Lovely. Fantastic. As you can see, we have people from across quite a few continents. So that's great. UK as well, Ireland, Dublin, Claire, Denmark, Albania, Malta, lovely Malta. I wish I was in Malta right now on one of those beaches. Yeah. What else? Malmo, welcome. Würzburg, Taranto, Montenegro. This is great. From Lagos and Nigeria. Use the QR code on screen to join if you haven't been able to join. Oh my God, and our list is growing. I think we have to create a cool, very cool map with all of these countries. So as you can see, people from a lot of Florence, this is growing. Cambodia, oh, love your country. Where else? Madrid, Brussels, Portugal, lovely. So a lot of people from a lot of different countries have joined today and are part of this summer school. And I always think it's cool to know that there are a lot of people like me out there going through the same, learning together. This is fantastic. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Okay, I think we can go to the next question, okay? So, which of these best describes you in your entrepreneurial journey? Okay, so pick one. Maybe you're just starting out. Maybe you're already running a business, hopefully successfully. You are still figuring it out. You're not sure yet. Maybe you want to grow an upskill, okay, already. And maybe you're here just out of curiosity. You found this on social media and something and said, hey, I'm going to go there to see what's happening. So let's see. Most, I believe, are just starting out. So that's great. You're going to find lots of new info, opportunities, case studies, activities, tools. You're going to find so much in here for you. About a quarter of us is still figuring it out. That's good. Still thinking. Maybe you'll get inspired by a lot Entrepreneurship for All has to offer. Quite a few are already running a business. Lovely. We would love to hear from them, to hear your stories, your ideas. How is it going? Your challenges, your successes, so that we can jump ahead. Want to grow up and skill, and just a few are here out of curiosity. Very good. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing those answers. Lovely to know this. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Okay. Of the innovator paths that we just explained, which one do you think you want to take, or which one are you most excited about? Okay, I'm going to tell you, it's 3 weeks. It doesn't sound long. However, our approach is micro-learning. So you can really learn on the go, little by little, step by step, and you'll be able to complete more than one, I am sure. Okay. So you don't have to stick to only one. There can be one in which you start with, but you'll have time to do more than one. So that's great. Let's see the entrepreneurship one. Lovely. Okay. Digital as well is one of the most wanted. Women entrepreneur innovator, about 10-11% or so want sustainability innovator. That's a cool one. Still exploring options. Fair enough. Yes, you know what? If you're still exploring options, just go for all of them. You'll enjoy them all, I'm sure. Financial innovator, that's a surprise for me, because you know that we work very much with Entrecomp, the Entrecomp framework and the Entrecomp entrepreneurial competences, and the financial literacy competence is one of the most that the people think have are less developed, you know, or know less about. So I think we are surrounded here. I'm going to tell this to my dear colleagues, by very expert financial participants, and that's good to know, because we can learn from everyone. That's lovely. So maybe definitely the entrepreneurship one is the one most people want to start with. Okay. But it's important to know that you can do more than one, of course, and you'll have enough time. Okay. So let's see. We want to know, what's your biggest challenge when learning online? Okay. Because yeah, I know it sounds great that you do it on your own time, on, you know, at your own pace, etc. But we do find some challenges. So time management seems to be the worst for most of us. Staying focused. Yes, we lose focus easily. Knowing where to start. Tech issues. I think my colleagues would be laughing at me right now. I would have to go for tech issues for sure. That would be my #1 challenge. Lovely. Okay, so staying focused. Okay, so this is why for these 3 weeks, we are going to have 3 live sessions. Okay, we're having one today, one next Wednesday, and another one the following Wednesday. Okay, because it's important that we get together, we push each other, and we check up to see where we are and how we can help you move forward. Okay, so make sure you join all of our live sessions, because this is going to help in this sense. Okay, lovely. Thank you. Let's go to the next one. Let's see. What's your ideal workspace for diving into Entrepreneurship4All Summer School? Let's see. What's your special place? Where are you going to join from? Let's see. My tidy home office. Yeah. Your chaotic desk. Lovely. Somewhere shady by the beach. I wish I could choose that option. Lovely. A cafe with Wi-Fi. Lovely. And bed. Just bed and sofa. Lovely. That's a good place to tackle this summer school, this Entrepreneurship4All summer school. Only 5% are going to do it from bed. I thought it would be more than that. And lovely, those of you who are going to go through our learning paths from the beach. Fantastic. I'm going to be in my home office. And yeah, lovely. Fantastic. This is lovely to know. Great. Thank you for sharing that piece of info. Let's see the next one. We were talking about how hard it was to stay focused. It was our number one rated challenge when learning online. So what's your go-to motivation booster? Okay, when you're demotivated, what do you do? Coffee, always coffee. That playlist that makes me feel invincible. I was going to say invisible. Invincible, lovely. Let's see, deadline panic. Yeah, that definitely keeps some of us moving. Deadlines. Planning my next move. Fantastic. Power chats with my people. Yes, definitely. That's one of the things that keeps us motivated. I think deadline panic is winning. So yes, I think we all face the same challenges. One of the good things about this summer school is that we have an ending date. So yes, we do have 3 weeks to organize ourselves and do it, as you said, on the beach, from your bed or sofa, etc. But we do have a deadline, and that will keeps us motivated to finishing up, okay, and getting that e-badge at the end. So that's fantastic. Lovely. Thank you for sharing these. And the next one, let's see. In one word, to finish up, to wrap up these, okay? In one word, please describe how you feel honestly about starting this Entrepreneurship for All summer school journey, okay? So write a word there. Powerful, fantastic, curious, yes. Cool, excited, hungry, I love it. Hungry for knowledge, of course, right? Motivated, intrigued, fantastic, instructive, inspired, excited, great, mostly excited and curious. That's cool. Let's see, back to school. You feel like you're back to school? Yes, to summer school, right? Back to school. Obligated. Oh, I hope that it's okay to feel obligated right now, but you will love the content so much and you will enjoy this so much that you will change your mind towards the end of these 3 weeks, and you'll just get hooked about everything Entrepreneurship for All has to offer. Okay. Lovely. I love that emoji. I'm not sure how I feel about, right? Curious, tired of anxiety of anxiety. Yes. Let's see, what else have I missed here? I'm inspired. That's lovely. Excited. And I love to see that our most common feelings, let's say, are curious, excited, motivated, and hopeful. Yes, we are hopeful that you're going to love it and you're going to learn a lot, and you're definitely going to develop your competences, your skills, your knowledge, just to boost your ideas to the next level. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you for taking part of this little survey, little activity in which we got to know each other better. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, lovely. Now, for our next section, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, we are super happy, excited, and honored to have our dear Paul Ranson. Paul, I didn't write your name there on screen. Sorry. But I was super excited to learn, from the first time we met you, we got hooked with your story. Thank you for being here. He's an entrepreneur. He's going to tell all of us a little bit about his journey. He's a fantastic digital educator. He's an advisor on everything and anything that has to do with creativity and deep tech. So thank you, Paul, for being here. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and the microphone is all yours.
Hi, everybody. Hopefully, can you hear me to start off with?
Yes, perfect.
Brilliant. Okay. So thank you, Marinella, for that lovely introduction. It's often feels a little bit embarrassing if sometimes to be told all of these things or explained that way. So my name's Paul. I've connected with a few people already on the chat. It took me an awful long time as an Englishman. We easily get embarrassed to call myself an entrepreneur, because essentially I'm a creative. first and foremost. My career started before I left school, where I started making and selling video games. So I'm an old man now. So I made my first game in 1982, which in my mind is about 20 years ago, but clearly my maths isn't that good. Um, I've um, I've actually made about 300 different video games, and they're sort of spread across all sorts of different computer platforms, whether they're the sort of more modern things like Xbox and PlayStation. I've also done an awful lot of work on Nintendo, and way back when I started on Commodore 64, Spectrum computers, if there's anyone here old enough to remember those sorts of games. So my journey to being an entrepreneur, as I say, it took me a while to say this out loud, was kind of, I suppose, a little bit by accident, a little bit of teenage bravado. Um, I believed I was good at what I did, and I produced a demo. So by a demo, I mean a completed game that I then took around to the publishers and basically sold. And that's sort of the route that I have kind of. Thanks, Jan. That's the route. Jan's saying that they remember the Spectrum computer. So that's the route that I sort of have taken, and I think that's one of the keys, I think, to being entrepreneurial is that if you can imagine back when I was a teenager making these games, I was surrounded by people saying that it's impossible to make a commercial video game and really to get a job and there wasn't really jobs to be had, if you like, because the industry was so unique. And so I've built this habit of taking on the risk of what other people say is impossible. That to me, it sets my sort of spider sense tingling that if somebody says it's impossible, that means that there are less people working to produce that thing. So that I think is possibly the first tip that I would give you is that when you're looking for an opportunity, go where there's difficulty because you're then fishing in a much smaller pool. You're not competing with as many people. I then took a few notes that the other thing that there was one of the Slido slides was talking about deadlines. And I think the next tip I would give you when you are working for yourself is to set yourself a deadline. Now, the tip I would give you that sort of tritely sounds a neat way of remembering is that what you need is for a brilliant project, whatever it is a deadline that gives you not quite enough time. What I mean by this is that if you set yourself, I'm going to make something absolutely perfect, what will actually happen is you'll keep moving that deadline further and further away because you will never really achieve perfection. So what I had naturally in the video game business is that there's a target of Christmas. And Christmas never moves. Christmas is the biggest time of the year for selling video games. Now, you might be working in an industry that hasn't got that sort of natural deadline. So you're going to have to be disciplined and kind of remember, what or make up what the equivalent of your Christmas would be. Now, as my career has advanced, Christmas has actually got earlier and earlier. So when I was working on those old-fashioned computers that Jan remembers, the Sinclair Spectrum and Commodore 64, I could make a game, finish it on a Friday, and have it in the shops probably the next week. Now, as the games industry got more and more sophisticated, you'd have to send your games off to Nintendo to get them manufactured, and they were manufactured halfway across the world for me in Japan. Um, Thank you, Paula. It makes me feel a lot younger when people remember my history. So what happened as the industry has got more and more professional? The deadline for Christmas moved closer and closer to the summer period because you have to factor in time to get your games manufactured and then shipped across the world again back to where you are. So yeah, I've gone off down a little bit of a rabbit hole there. But the point I'm trying to get to is your project needs not quite enough time and a hard deadline. And because, as I say, working with the experience I have, if I missed Christmas and I missed virtually my sales for the entire year, so it was always built into me and my team to understand. We miss Christmas, then we haven't got wages in January. So hopefully that's a good tip for you. So another thing that came up on the Slido that it was how you get yourself motivated, and there was a lot of. I understand it's a little bit jokey, and a lot of sort of reliance on coffee and playlists and things like that. And I understand that, so don't get me wrong. But what I think my advice to everyone in this room, because everyone erred on the coffee and playlists and sort of walking out with a dog or whatever, is uh, no man is an island, or woman or them is an island. And what I mean by this is that you need, I think, certainly as a solo entrepreneur, which I largely find myself working on solo projects these days, but for everyone starting out, I want you to understand that it can be very lonely being an entrepreneur because you're your own boss. Often things, when they go wrong, you haven't got anyone to vent with. And also, you need people that are kind of sharing the same sort of experience. And so I think my top tip as a new entrepreneur is to find someone, and that could be a mentor or a coach, or it could be a group of individuals like Entrepreneurship for All is trying to establish. And what you're trying to do there is not necessarily find colleagues that you sell to, because quite often we go into this network mode where we're thinking, I'm in business, I need to find people to sell to and stuff. Your advice I think I would give to you, and certainly again, I was kind of lucky, is that I, as a young entrepreneur and in a very new business, I found myself being very alienated by so-called professional entrepreneurs because at the time, so in the 1980s, real business people were in the 30s and 40s, and certainly that was the advice I kept getting from my father. He was a policeman, saying, you need to go and talk to a bank manager or things like that. I think a better bit of advice is what ultimately happened to me is that I found a group of fellow entrepreneurs that were largely in the same digital innovation space, albeit it wasn't called digital innovation at the time. And we just sort of hung out. We had places, we'd meet at the pub, we'd have an understanding that if we needed help, we could kind of help one another. So in the games business, the technology to develop, say, a Nintendo game, for instance, as an example, is pretty expensive. And what you'd find is that if you had this close-knit group of people who understood that we weren't competing, but we were all at the same time, competition, it's called in the trade, is that, they might lend you a Nintendo dev kit. And I in turn would lend them a PlayStation dev kit, and between us we had this very beautiful experience. That, as I say, it was not competition; it was at the same time, and it was kind of cooperation. But I think most of all, it was a great place to kind of maybe vent, maybe whinge about, in my case, the publishers, like Nintendo being cruel to games, or the reviews that I had of my games. It was nice to have that in opportunity that might well have just gone home and talked to my wife about it, but she wouldn't have really understood it. So I think going back to the Slido thing, value the connections with people, because again, if you were working in a quote normal job, you would have those sort of moments where you're around the cliche American phrases is around the water cooler, where people sort of spark off ideas. Now again, times have changed since my early days in the games business. You will probably find entrepreneurial space in these innovation hubs and the like, hot desking. What I want you to sort of take away from this advice, it's not just about the physical space, it's about the human contact and the sort of advice and camaraderie that comes with it. And dare I say, there is then, off the back of that, that potentially you will get some business. So I can think off the top of my head 2 or 3 deals where my friends in business have said to me, "Hey, Paul, I know you've done such and such a game. Electronic Arts are looking for it." And that sort of is absolutely vital. And I say, I understand it's all about video games, but it is applicable, I'm sure, for other businesses. What else have I written? Yeah, there was a subdivision very early on in the Slidos about what business that you are in, and so my final tip for this conversation is understand that innovation and being entrepreneurial comes from adjacent ideas. So if you take my example, video game entrepreneur, so I'm now confident to say that, written 300 video games, but what am I doing now? I'm actually using the video game skills and um, I call them production values when I'm talking to my colleagues at Bantony, is that these skills are infinitely transferable from making a Nintendo game to making a interactive puzzle or video content, graphic content in the educational space. So I've actually found myself, and again, I feel embarrassed saying it because I've got my colleagues in front of me, but I have very, very uh, super skills, to use sort of Marianella's terminology, at creating digital assets that make me kind of unique in the education space. Whereas back in video games, which is what my skills at drawing are laughable. Um, and so, what I would urge you to do is that, say again, the Slido presentation was trying to get you to segment yourself into what sort of business that you are looking for. But I would sort of say that part of innovation is taking incongruent ideas, which is a bit of a fancy word of saying doing digital stuff in a unusually digital place, or battery tech. I know one of the colleagues today is talking about batteries. How could you use that battery tech in a non-traditional sort of way. Invent your own sort of space. Now, it's not easy to do, but maybe spend some time with a chat bot, because I find that's another sort of hot tip, and very 21st century. Trying to sort of work out what you could do in a different space. And I said, just sort of finally add that bit off, is that sometimes to be creative, we're often thinking, oh, I'm going to do the positive thing. But there's a quote by Charlie Munger, who is Warren Buffett's mentor, who in turn, if you've not heard of Warren Buffett, Charlie, Hathaway Holdings is one of the biggest investment companies in the world. And if you don't know these people's names, look them up. I'll type them into the chat in a minute, because they come up with absolutely beautiful bits of business advice. And one of Munger's quotes, he's dead now, so he's not going to do many new ones, but one of Munger's quotes is called invert. And what he means by that is that instead of trying to think, oh, what's the best thing I can do in my business space, we are wired as human beings to think negatively first. That's why the news is always about death and destruction. So instead of trying to think of the best thing, because that's what everybody else is doing, try and think of the worst thing that you could possibly do with your set of skills, and then invert again. So, so if you imagine I was trying to make a new video game, instead of trying to think of what's the most entertaining thing I could do, I could actually think, oh, what's the worst thing I could possibly do? And what you'll find is that you can think of lots of worse things, and then you could just fix those worst things. Hopefully, I've explained that correctly. If that's not too clear, go and look for Charlie Munger's explanation on YouTube. I can't think of anything else. I've talked on stop for about 15 minutes. I wonder, is there any questions that people would have that I can try and help you with?
Paul, this has been fantastic. Actually, I've been taking notes, not for the sake of this meeting, but for myself. Thank you for sharing that advice. It's fantastic. I mean, looking for the difficult, the less known, going the difficult path is where that first advice really shook me. The one about deadlines, that phrase that you use, not quite enough time for your project. That's a fantastic phrase to keep. All your advice about motivation and how no man or woman is an island, and how we need that support system, people to share with, etc. Yes, definitely. And this is one of our aims, as you well said, within Entrepreneurship for All. That's what we want, right? To become that community that can support, honestly, each other. I also wrote down, because I loved it, taking your incongruent ideas to unusual places. I love that. It's not about only inventing new things, but replacing them, right? Finding new homes for things. That's fantastic. And also this last message about thinking about the worst thing that you could do. Fantastic. If you think of the bad things you can do, then you can find a way to solve them, and to yeah, that I love them. I just loved it. Thank you very much. I think
My
there are a few
pleasure.
questions in the chat. I don't know if you can read the chat, or if you would like us to
Yeah, I can read them. Yeah. So Paula's saying, how do you deal with setbacks? I feel I'm not on the right, or I feel I'm on the right path, but not getting a contract, and thus worrying about finances can easily throw me off my rhythm. The advice I give you here is advice from the Stoics. So I'm going to go off on a philosophical thing. It's also a Viking thing. It was actually a fella from Iceland. There's a long story behind this, but he was essentially the fella that did the TV show Lazy Town. But that's another story for another time. The Vikings and the Stoics have this thing where they revisit on a regular basis. I mean, the argument goes every day is to work out how you're going to die. And it sounds on the surface of it kind of a melancholy and very negative thing to do. But what the theory behind it is that the day you come to die, your Viking is fighting in the field, and instead of going, I've died, they go, oh, that's the way I'm going to die. So it's kind of again another weird philosophical thing, but when you set up in business, you are going to fail all the time, and clearly, you're aiming to be successful. But if you have this thing in your heart that you understand that failure is part of the process, like the Vikings, it kind of makes you a bit braver. That the failure comes along, and instead of going, oh my God, everything's fallen in a heap, you go, no, this is the moment that I've learned that what I was doing wasn't the right thing. So it's kind of a mental shift. And again, if you're to look up Stoic, is Stoicism, is kind of a nice practice that's been going for a couple of a millennia at least, and however long the Vikings have been going for. But the next thing I'd say to you, Paula, is that I feel I'm on the right path. So that feeling in your heart is definitely the thing that you need to follow. There is a continual battle I have with business school teaching that this idea that what you do is you come up with a business plan and you execute the business plan, and if the plan doesn't execute, then somehow or other you as the individual have failed. The reality is that when you work in an entrepreneurial space, you're coming up with something that's never really been done before. Because if it has been done before, you can just copy them. So I think, therefore, you're only left with that feeling in your heart that what you're doing is cool, what you're doing is great, and what you're doing is somehow or other going to move the dial in whatever industry that you're in. Now, clearly, there's a point where reality hits. And it's I can't think there's a funky word for it, but essentially you're setting yourself a stop-go limit. Before you start this journey, first of all, consider an experiment, and you put down your money that you're going to prepare to spend on learning, whether this experiment is going to run, and be disciplined enough to go, I've spent €2,000, I've spent £3,000, whatever the amount is, it hasn't worked, therefore I need to move on to something else. So hopefully that's also good advice and not reckless. The final thing I'd say is that about not getting a contract. Now, I wish my wife was here, because she is forever whinging at me that, Paul, you need to get a bloody contract from these bloody people who you're working for. They're exploiting you, and you're not going to get paid. The reality is that when you're working for a larger company and you're a little, flea, if you like, trying to get in, if you've found an individual whom you trust, and that is a skill that you're going to have to develop. I tend to find that you develop those relationships over a cup of coffee, over a beer, depending on whether you drink alcohol or not. And if you feel that individual has confidence upstream, then don't worry about the contract. I mean, this is super reckless stuff, and if my wife was here, she'd probably slap me across the face. But I think, again, the reality is if you're working in something that is innovative and entrepreneurial, um, those people that you've sold to in turn have to sell upstream. And that can be quite difficult, particularly when you've got a large bureaucratic organization. You'll find that the person you have contact with absolutely loves your idea, and you'll hear them complaining about their bosses and their bosses' bosses, etc. And it's for you to work out whether that contract will eventually come. But I do an awful lot, and my colleagues online will back me up on this free of charge. That you do a thing, and they go, "Oh my God, Paul's brilliant! Paul's brilliant. We've got to get him paid." And I've spent 40 years basically doing that. Might even be 45, depending on not got my maths right yet. So hopefully that's helped you, Paula. Does that
Paul,
work?
no, absolutely. I think, and she did right. The Viking spirit, love it. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
Now, we are almost done, but before we finish, Catherine would like to know if there's a special project management tool or anything that you use to keep your tasks going.
Um, yeah, I'm by nature, I'm what they call an agile project manager. And by that, I mean, frankly, it's the only way that you're going to invent something new. So there's the cliche of the difference between the two management tools. There's one called waterfall, which is what everyone is kind of familiar with. Is that you go with a list of milestones. This is the waterfall, incidentally. So milestone, one, you'll do this. Milestone two, you'll do that. Milestone three, and each of those milestones you get paid for. Now, the problem with that sort of thinking in innovation space is that at the beginning of the project, which is the point where we're writing the contract, in theory, you know the least amount of your business, the least about your project than you possibly can, because you're literally on day one. And yet, traditional wisdom is that you describe this great game, in my case, right at the beginning. And
Hmm.
so the agile process, and there's very funky words if you want to look it up, but it involves what they call sprints. So essentially, you have an arrangement with your customer that says, I will do a small bit of this project that will add value to you in the next 2 weeks. And you'll pay me upfront for, say, 2 weeks worth of work. And if you like what you see, we'll have another meeting and we'll decide what we're going to do next. And
Okay.
it's kind of broadly making it up as you go along. But the way you sell it in is that as you are going along this journey, you are increasingly knowing more and more about what your customer wants, what you yourself can develop. So you imagine I'm developing a video game, and my colleagues come up with a new brilliant feature. Now I can go to my customer and say, the lads have been working. They're almost always men, incidentally. The lads have come up with this great idea. Can we add it in the next sprint? And invariably the customer will say yes. And what I think is beautiful about this arrangement is that everyone's working on what they think the best features are for your project. Whereas, shall we say, the traditional waterfall approach is you tend to have these long winded meetings where, because people don't know what they really want, they start throwing hundreds and hundreds of ideas that may well not end up being useful features.
Hmm.
So hopefully that's answered your question there. So look up Agile. It's technically a software development thing, which obviously is where I come from, software. But I think it's applicable to any deep tech anything on the edges of our knowledge where you can't predict what you're doing. And also, I say, it's this great way of integrating your abilities to create whatever it is that you're doing with what your customers actually want. And rather than guessing, which at the end of the day is what traditional stuff is about. So hopefully I've not wittered on too much about
No.
Agile.
Paul, it's been fantastic, honestly. We want to have you back in this space because I know you have a lot to share, and it's been truly fantastic. And Paul as well, he'll be keeping an eye on our LinkedIn group. So for any questions, any doubts, challenges, anything, really, Paul will be there, happy to answer your questions as well. Okay, so. Before we say goodbye, I do not want to go without saying thank you also to our dear colleagues, Gabriela Antesa from Matera Hub, who is here. Thank you, Gabi. Gabi is responsible for a lot of the entrepreneurship content. She's an expert, and we're truly lucky to have her in the team. Our dear Sandra Troya as well from All Digital. She, and I know some of you know her very well because she dedicated 3 amazing sessions on AI last week on our on our Artificial Intelligence Academy, Entrepreneurship4All Academy. She's also responsible for a lot of the magnificent content on digital and yeah, that we have in Entrepreneurship4All. Also, thank you to our dear Lisa McMillan from Women's Organization, and Pamela Pokorny from EIT Food as well. I mean, honestly, we have a great team behind the scenes working hard every day to develop new things for you. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Just a couple of reminders, okay? All of these learning paths, even the summer innovator paths that we have developed, they will all lead, of course, to e-badges that you can earn towards at the end when you finish. So don't worry, they're shareable on LinkedIn, etc., with all the info behind it. So yes, you can earn, of course, and we'll be celebrating in 2 weeks who is our top learner. So do make the most of your time, make the most of your summer by learning new things. Just a quick reminder, I think we've mentioned it quite enough, but do go to our LinkedIn group. That's the way to chat with each other, connect, questions, anything. And remember that we have shared it in the chat. We can share it again, no problem. If you go to our webpage, to the summer school section, there you will find resources and tutorials. If you're not sure how or where to start, feel free to take a look at those PDFs, download them, and all the explanations are there for you to follow. Okay, where to click, what to go, where to go next, etc. All righty. So thank you, everyone. See you next Wednesday. Do not miss our next Wednesday. It's important that we all get here together. Let's see what we've been doing during this week. I'm doing my own as well, so I'll be sharing a little bit of that, and we would love to hear from you. Okay, we've done 60 minutes. Well done, everyone. It's been fantastic. Thank you, Paul, again, my dear colleagues, for all the support, and see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye. Enjoy your learning.